seeing the examination mentality, seeing the exam paper mentality, you know, and I'm just there, just basically looking around, not pressured. You know, for me, it's very important that my pencil is sharpened. My biro I have at least 4 biros, because I can't be looking for biro during my examination. I go to the examination hall with at least 4 or 5 pens. One dies, I pick up another one. I have my pencil to underline things. I have my eraser, I have ruler, just in case anything pops up. These are not the kind of things that these are not the petty things that I want destabilizing me in the exam. These are things that you can actually control. You know, you have to take away the things that you can control, so that you can deal with the things that, you know, are not within your control, which is the exam questions, basically. So, you know, those are the little things that seem like they are unimportant, but actually have your calculator. Make sure, in fact, have an extra calculator if you can, because the battery can just die while you're writing your examination. You know, so you just don't want to be caught, you know, in that panic. You don't want to be panicked, you know, suddenly while writing the exam, because it can really destabilize people. It can make you go blank. I don't know if any of you have ever gone blank during examination. If you can go blank, it can happen to anybody. It almost happened to me during CA. You know, it was just for a particular question, but you can just go blank, something that you are certain that you know, and you just, you know, dashes off your head and you just can't find it. So, you know, things like that can happen. And it's little things that you don't pay attention to that can, you know, put you in an unbalanced situation, and the mind that is supposed to be busy collecting data that you have stored in your medulla over the months, you know, is now busy looking for extra pen and looking for extra. So you don't want all of that. You know? So be prepared for your examination. Go there on time. Have your writing materials. You know, that's that. And then to the practical examination, answering of the examination question, I start by reading everything that is on the front page of my exam paper. I do that for all courses. You think it will change in the next paper, but it really doesn't change. But for me, it's just part of my, you know, quirks, exam quirks. You know, if you have quirks, you know, it really doesn't matter. Read everything. I read all the instructions all over again, just in case there's something I'm missing, you know, something that I missed in the last paper and then suddenly appears in this paper, you know. I read all my instructions again. And then when you read your instructions again, you realize that on the cover of your exam sheet, it says, write the number of write the number of the questions you answered in the manner or in the order in which you answered it. You know, I think that's very key. I mean, for your sake, for the sake of the examiner, who's going to have to be flipping through and looking for which page you are busy answering. So if you read the instructions, you see that it says you should write the order of your answers in write the number of the questions you answer in the order that you answered. So it's not really important which one you start with. You know, it is very important that your questions are you mark that place. I mean, you write your questions, the questions you answered in the order that you answered, so that when the examiner is flipping through, oh, she answered number 3. This is number 3. That's the first thing that I'm saying, you know. And then the next one is number 6, and then the next one is back to number 2. So it's very important. I think that's very important for you and for the examiner. You know, take some stress off the examiner as well, and you know, just make it easy for the examiner. Then now, I'll usually read all the questions that I have, everything on the exam paper. Of course, number 1 is compulsory, so it's not like you have a choice. Number 1 is compulsory. You are going to answer it. So whatever it gives you is what you're dealing with. So I read my number 1 question. I'm already in a mental place where I'm deciding whether it is easy for me to answer or it's going to be difficult. And sometimes when you say easy, it doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. Sometimes some questions are voluminous. They might be easy, but they are quite voluminous. They pack a lot of things that it just looks like, man, 2 hours, I'm still on this question. So, but this is me. I need to go back to that again. This is how I do things. The way it works for you might be different. So I like to answer my question 1 first, because it is compulsory. though the first thing I do is I go through the whole questions. I decide on which questions, I mean the optional ones, I decide on which one I'm answering. Okay, I'll answer this one, I'll answer this one. Okay, this one looks like, I'm calculating the marks, also calculating the marks that are attached to each questions. It's very important in your permutation when you're deciding which questions to answer. You can think this question 1, I know this A and B very well. But question 3, you actually know just A, and A carries 10 or 15 marks, or 12 marks, carries and that's the only one you know. But the other ones carries 2 marks, 3 marks, but you can answer that A very well. And somehow, as long as you attempt the other babies under it, you shall manage to pack up some 1 mark here, 2 marks here, and at the end of the day, it will help you out at the end of the day. But this one that you're saying, question A and B very well. Question A carries 3 marks. Question B carries 2 marks. The other ones carry maybe, and then the other ones you don't really know, but you feel like, this one well, I want to answer this question. I've been looking, please don't decide that you must answer a question in the examination. I think that somehow, psychologically, because we feel that we know this topic, once this topic comes out, I'm answering it. Sometimes it is not the best option for you. Sometimes where that topic will come out from, every other thing under that topic, you cannot answer well. Learn to let go. I wish I could answer this one, but it is not the best option for me. That's why it's important for you to calculate your marks. You might have 1 or 2 that you can answer very well in that under that question, but you need to look at the overall marks that they carry, the overall questions, your strengths in answering the overall questions, and please calculate your marks. Start deciding that, okay, this one, at least I can get, this one is over 10, I can get 7 marks. Okay, this one is over 5. I don't know it very well, but I have an idea. That idea can give you 1.5 mark. Because you are not even, just don't leave any question blank. That's also it. Don't fail to answer any question. You just use idea. And that's the funny thing. Once you have covered it, somehow an idea of how to answer that question will come to you. You might not know it 100%, but you have an idea. That idea might be sufficient to get you past. Even if it's 1.5 mark out of 3 marks or out of 4 marks, to get 1.5, you're done with that one. But you have answered the ones that you know very well, and you might get 7 marks out of 10. You might get 8 marks out of 10. So that's it. So, like I said, decide on what you want to answer. Decide on the questions you want to answer. Go in depth into question 1A. That 1A, that 1A. Look at it. Look at each question. Look at it well. Answer it, just do a short summary of a recap of what you recall about those questions, and say that, okay, I think I can manage with this, I think I can manage with that, do that. And once you decide, for me, I'll just go back to my question 1, because I don't mess with question 1s. They are very important. I think in ICSAN, I think they carry about 40 marks and thereabouts. They carry 40 marks, right? Yes. So you don't want to mess with your question 1. You may not know it. That's the honest truth. You may not know it fully, but somehow, if you have actually covered your syllabus, you have ideas. Now, work on making those ideas into things that make sense. Sometimes it is not. I've learned early in my, examination journeys from secondary school that sometimes it is not really you knowing the answer. The exact answer that this is the exact answer. It's just about you having an idea and being, especially for question 1, because you don't have a choice. You have to answer it. So this is a tip for question 1. You don't have a choice. You have to answer it. So dig deep into the root of your knowledge, into the root of your experiences in life. Use common sense. Use anything at your disposal. Just make sure you answer the questions. Don't leave any stone unturned. Some of them you would know the answers. And sometimes knowing the answer too well can even be dangerous for you, because then you're struggling with time management, because you want to show the lecturer that yes, I know it, and you want to give them everything that is inside your textbook and pour it back on the answer sheet. Sometimes that can work against you when it comes to time, time management. And then allot time. I do that at the beginning of my at the beginning of my examination. I allot time. Okay, question 1 hour. And sometimes I vary between 45 minutes to 1 hour for my question 1, depending on how bulky and how, how I feel like I would need to maneuver through the question. So I budget between 45 minutes to 1 hour for my question 1. And, you have to stick to that time. Budget 45 minutes. And then just have at the back of your mind that, okay, if I don't finish in 45 minutes, I would use the remaining 15 minutes to finish up. But you have to realize that once you take out of the time allotted for a particular question, you are eating into the time of another question. So it's not like any additional time is going to appear from somewhere to come and fill up that space. So I would say that once you finish the time allotted for a particular question, first of all, practice before the exam. Your past questions, you have practice by timing yourself. Make sure that you do at least 2 to 3 full past questions, like 2021 June diet question. Answer 4 questions, or 5 questions, 4 or 5 questions that are required to answer during the exam. Make sure you answer, as in this is before your exam day. Make sure you have practiced answering your exam in a question paper in an exam mode. Time yourself. You have 1 hour to answer question A. Time yourself. This is part of your preparation tips, such that you have an idea of how much time it can take you to finish a question 1. For instance, you should have done that before the exam hall. So it is not in the exam hall that you are now saying, this question will take me 2 hours. Or no, it shouldn't take you more than 1 hour, because you have practiced before the exam. Make sure you do that with like 2 or 3 past questions, where you just, the idea is answering the questions under exam conditions. And, nobody is there to time you, but time yourself and follow the time strictly. And once your 3 hours is up, pens up for yourself, because that's exactly what's going to happen in the example. So basically, you're just transporting yourself back in time, and you are answering the question, taking timing into consideration, so that's it for question 1. And then you go to your other questions. Some of them you would even finish in less than the time that you prescribed for them. And you might even have enough time to now go back to that your question 1 that maybe you left 1 or 2 unanswered, and then, just quickly go back to scribble something. But make sure you pay attention to your timing. Look at the clock on the wall in your exam center. Keep checking. I have 15 minutes more. Increase your writing speed. These are things. Increase your writing speed. These are things that you should have practiced before the exam. But then, even in the exam, keep checking the time. I've spent 15 minutes. Man, I'm still on question 1A. I have 3 months to go, and I've spent 15 minutes on just question 1A. I still have 3 months to go. Am I going to be able to finish? And then, the time you're going to allot to question A or B or C also depends on the mark that it carries. Don't waste too much time writing 2 pages on a 3 marks questions. I mean, no, you don't want to do that. Question A carries 10 marks. Obviously, you need to write something to earn those 10 marks. You don't write 3 lines for a 10 marks question and then go and write a whole page or 2 pages for a 3 marks questions. No. So, also these are the strategic. And then when the question actually carries 10 marks, and you see that the only knowledge you have is what's 3 marks, write that 3 marks and then add more. Just find something to write. Keep expanding it in any way that is possible. Use more grammar, just keep going round and round. The examiner can say, let me even give her extra mark for her pen. And then she managed to, invest some ink in this question, and then you can just get maybe a little extra 1 or 2 marks, for the bulk that you wrote. So yes, that's that. When it comes to the exam conditions. Then let me see, practical. What other practical exam in the exam or tip can I give? For instance, there are situations. So for instance, I talked about something that happened to me during CE. There are instances where you know that you know this thing,